We journalists look for weasel words, Richard Leonard. I think I've just detected a whole sack full of ferrets in what you just said. When you talked about a new mandate, you said not just electorally, but in terms of public support. So are you saying that pro-independence parties winning the next Scottish election on manifestos which said quite clearly that a vote for them was a vote for another independence referendum, are you saying if they won that election, that would not count as a mandate, or it would count as a mandate?
Well, it would contribute towards a consideration, but you need to reflect back on what happened in 2011
hang on a minute.
Agreement and the Edinburgh Agreement in 2012, because we had a situation there where you had an SNP party elected with an overall majority in the Scottish Parliament and calling for an independence mandate, which there had never been. We're now in a situation where we had an independence referendum just 5 years ago, and that's got to be a factor in considering whether the circumstances are right for a second independence referendum to be held. I think most people would understand that's a perfectly legitimate thing. And I'll tell you what, Gordon, as well, all of the evidence shows that even people who voted yes in 2014, even some people who are supporting the SNP, do not think that the time is now for a second independence referendum.
Right, but if Jeremy Corbyn is saying in the longer term I wouldn't stand in its way, and you're saying there needs to be another mandate, what is another mandate other than pro-independence parties winning a Scottish election on manifestos which clearly say they want another referendum? And surely basic democracy would mean that should that happen, you would have to concede the point.
Well, I think there would need to be demonstrable public opinion which was in favour of a second independence referendum.
Sorry, demonstrable public opinion is winning an election.
It's also. Well, of course that's a part of it, and of course that wouldn't be ignored.
Part of it?
But what I'm saying to you,
Gordon,
Gordon,
what's the rest of it then?
That is not the only. That is not. Well, it's about where public opinion is.
What, you mean opinion polls?
It depends entirely. Well, I think there would need to be the demonstration of substantial support from the Scottish people for a second indendence referendum.
But if that's not winning an election, what is that?
As well as any mandate.
Demonstrable support?
But Gordon, let me just disarm you of something else as well. I am standing as the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, going into the 2021 election, going into any general election whenever it comes, determined to win that election. So I'm not going to stand here and concede that somehow those parties that are in favour of a second independence referendum are somehow going to come on top, because my job is to make sure it's the Labour Party that comes out on top.
Yes, but your critics would say that conceding the point I've just said you might want to concede is just, frankly, basic democracy.
No, look, the circumstances under which the 2014 referendum were held were that the SNP had gained an overall majority, unprecedented, completely unexpected. They gained an overall majority, and there was an understanding that there had never been an independence referendum, and the time might be right to test it. Those were particular circumstances which led to the 2012 Edinburgh Agreement and the Section 30 order.
Right.
What I'm saying is, I don't see the circumstances today, and I don't see them in the foreseeable future where we'll be back in that kind of space again.
All right, Richard Leonard. Luke, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Gordon.
Now, Friday.